Yeah, so I've been a teacher for 12 years. I work at a school called David Hume Primary, which is just around the corner from the Trafford Centre. Been to Manchester before, about half an hour walk from Old Trafford. Yeah? Yes. Hey, what a free kick that was the other night. Yeah, we're getting there. I've been working there for the past few years part-time and then doing this sort of thing part-time. So I like to always think of my training as being quite unique in that the ideas are sort of approach from me is very much from a teacher who's still in the classroom doing it. So what I do today is just share with you some stuff that we've been doing in our school through this sort of technology. I am sort of up and down the country now doing lots of training sessions. Big focus is on obviously using creative technology to enhance the curriculum, but also a big focus on getting schools working smarter, not harder, how technology can help them do their job better. So I never have any handouts because I'm not big on paperwork. We're the teacher saying that, isn't it? But it's true. What I do put a lot of time and effort into is my blogs and my social media channels and do a podcast with my brother. You won't learn anything with that. But hopefully make you laugh. I've got a website as well, mrpict.com, where I'm sort of moving all my CPD online. So if you're interested in carry on the learning journey off the back of today, you can have a look at that, sign up to it. And I think it's about 350 step-by-step tutorial videos on how you can use technology more effectively in your classrooms. So I just wanted to start sort of looking at where we're sort of up to with technology and where I think we're sort of going wrong with it in a lot of schools, why that's the case, and then what can happen if we actually focus on the right use of technology. So I love technology. I think it's amazing. You've only got to look at sort of the medical field and the advancements being made in medicine. They're now using 3D printing to print body parts using operations, or virtual reality helping people with spinal injuries learn how to walk again. These little smart devices on our wrists diagnosing us with illnesses or just saving our lives. So there's a feature on your Apple Watch now that picks up if you've had a dramatic drop in your heart rate and it will contact emergency services. So this bloke's on a bike ride in the middle of nowhere, has a really bad accident, heart rate drops, Apple Watch picks that up, contacts emergency services, and it saves his life. Yeah. Or this, just the technology solving murders. So in America, a husband murdered his wife, right? As you do. Can empathise there. Told the police he didn't do it, and the police tracked the wife's Fitbit, and the data from the wife's Fitbit completely contradicted the husband's story and was the main piece of evidence that convicted him in the murder. Yeah, so I just thought I'd share that as a bit of a warning. You know what I mean? Next time you're ready to have it out, you might want to take your watch off. And if you get home tonight, see your partner taking the watch off, what have I done in the doghouse, you know? I don't think anything epitomizes the power of technology more than this guy. You know the winner of Britain's Got Talent last year? And if you think about what technology did for him, you know, technology gave him a voice. And only 5-6 years ago, he wouldn't have been able to dream of achieving what he's achieved. But through this technology, he's able to do some incredible things. And I think that's amazing that we can do things like that. But it does frustrate me that we can be doing amazing things like this, yet there'll be a child in your class who, whenever you do any sort of mental maths, just gets the answer straight like that, but, you know, can't spell for toffee. Or a child in your class who, whenever you do any sort of topic work, just has a depth of understanding that blows you away. You know, can name you every dinosaur that's ever existed, but handwriting's all over the shop. How are we allowing technology to help these children achieve? Because I think as a profession, we fail these children because, generally speaking, we are still so narrow-minded as far as valuing the work children produce. And what I mean by this is there are still too many schools who work to the model of, well, if the children haven't done it on a piece of paper, that we can stick in an exercise book to show someone who's not been in a classroom for don't know how long. It's not worthwhile. And so we create these unnecessary barriers for highly intelligent children just because they struggle to get ideas down in that format. A format that once they leave school will probably never publish anything again in that format, will they? 60% of the handwriting you do in your lifetime now you do before you're 18. If you take yourself outside of teaching, when was the last time you had to handwrite anything for someone else to read? Yet we tell kids in this country that expected standard at 10 years old, if they've not got neat curves with joined handwriting. Show of hands, who thinks they wouldn't be expected standard if you were 10 years old now? Me, definitely. You know, it's ridiculous. So what we've got to realise is for some children in our class, can anyone think of an example, by the way, of when you've had to handwrite something for someone else to read? Birthday card, right? But let's be honest. handwrite me a generic birthday card, and if you've not taken the time to put my face in a dog's face on Moonpig or Funky Pigeon, and then made a collage of our favourite photos together and plastered that all over your social media channels, do I not mean anything to you, you know? So, yeah, for some children in our classes, technology is going to be necessary for them, and if it's necessary for some, it's good for all. It's just like with my boys. So I've got 8-year-old triplets back in Manchester, right? Yeah, I know. And I've got 2 identical boys and a girl. And my 2 boys are both dyslexic. I mean, they really struggle with the whole phonics stuff back in year. Well, still struggle with it now. But the way this technology is allowing them to access the curriculum's incredible. Because still, in majority of classrooms up and down the country today, a child will say, "Teacher, I can't spell that word." And the teacher will go, "Well, go and get a dictionary. Go and get that book full of thousands of other words you can't spell, and good luck." Whereas now we've got this technology at our fingertips where we can instantly say, "Hey Siri, how do you spell beautiful?" And it just spells it for you. E-A-U is Aussie, Siri, for me. I've always wanted an Aussie friend. What does annoyed mean?
As an adjective, it means slightly angry, irritated.
Yeah.
The next one.
No, thank you. What else was I going to... Oh, give me a synonym for angry.
I found this on the web.
Oh, not quite. Give me a synonym for angry. There we go. Got it there. Now, children, we've been practicing our times tables, and I know you think you're an expert at your times tables, but you cannot consider yourself an expert until you're able to beat the most advanced computer system in the world, aka Siri. Right, let's put it to the test. You ready? Hey, Siri. What is... Someone else is going there, yeah. Hey, Siri. What is 7 times 8?
7 times 8 is 50.
Well done, you. The rest of you need to get practicing. It's not good enough. You won't pass that test in year 4. You get the idea. Now, that's in our fingertips. That's in most of our classrooms each and every day. Majority of teachers don't use it. I can't get my head around why. Because we've got to accept it is necessary for some. And if it's necessary for some, it's good for all. In the same way, it was necessary for him. But he did not win Britain's Got Talent because of the technology, did he? Why did he win Britain's Got Talent? Because he was hilarious. It was funny. And what technology did was allow him to share that gift. Now, what I don't want to do is make it out like it's all rosy, it's all perfect, and there are no sort of downsides with technology. I recognise at the minute for every good thing we get, equally we get something bad. Like with social media. I love social media. I think social media is one of the most powerful tools to change the world for good. You know, the most annoying thing with social media at the minute, how naive and stupid everyone is on it. You know, so you get some amazing stuff. I mean, for me personally, I'm here now doing this because of the way that I use social media. From sharing ideas online, I've been able to change my career and go down a path where I now get to travel to all these wonderful places like London and speak to you fantastic people. But then at the same time, if it wasn't for Facebook, Brexit would have never happened, would it? Trump wouldn't be in the White House, but at least it's all going swimmingly well. There's nothing to worry about, eh? So you see stuff in the news all the time about the downsides with technology, you know, the addiction issues, how it's affecting children in so many different ways. And I'm not saying these things don't happen, but what annoys me about this is the way we blame the technology. Like this was an example. Mum went on to This Morning recently, sat there with Holly and Phil, and on national TV had the audacity to say, "My child's addicted to technology because of Fortnite. Fortnite has made my child addicted, and I'm having to place him into rehab on the NHS because of Fortnite." Bloody Holly gives her a tissue. Whose fault is it that child's addicted to technology? Can't say that though, can you? Bloody hell. You make it out like you're criticising anyone's parenting skills, especially as a teacher. They want your head on a plate. And that's what we do. We're sort of conditioned now. We live in this world where we're conditioned to always feel like our lives are crap, but there's always someone else to blame. So what we do is we blame technology for all of society's problems. You know, it's all technology's fault. It's those bloody blue screens. And if we don't blame technology, who else do we blame? Teachers, yeah. So we've now got to be the solution to everything. There was an article recently that suggested teachers now to solve the knife crime epidemic in the UK. So if we can't foreshadow that a child is going to go out the weekend and stab someone up, we can be held accountable and prosecuted for that. It's going to help retention and recruitment, isn't it? Choose teaching, you know. We're all now turning into Bran flipping Stark, the three-eyed raven. I'm going to go now, you know. It's ridiculous. And what I'm trying to say is what we do is we blame things. But this is all about choices. Now, when it comes to technology, it's all about choices. We can choose to use it, and you can do some incredible things, as I'm sure you've seen throughout the day. We can also choose to use it, and it can be very, very detrimental. And here's the thing, I think that's the problem at the minute. Too many of us in our wider society are making really, really poor choices, and it infiltrates into education. So I come across a lot of teachers who won't even touch a device because all they ever see outside of school are children glued to it like little zombies. But here's the thing, that's just a really poor choice in using the technology. And you do see some really poor choices. Have a gander this. Here we go. A quarter of parents now admit to using Siri or Alexa to read a bedtime story to their pupils. Right, now I've hopefully just shown you a way in which you can use Siri that can really help and support children. That is nothing but, disgraceful, really. I don't get it. I love technology to bits, but technology cannot replace that feeling of when you get home after a really tough day in the classroom, but you know you get to sit on the bed with your kids, cuddling up, reading an amazing story, laughing, joking, crying. If that's not the best part of your day as a parent, why the bloody hell have you got kids, you know? And I know we're all busy, I know we've all got stuff going on, but that is not technology's fault. That is just really poor choice. Really poor choice. About this one. Swipe and feed. Hey. Because, do you know what? The one thing I don't want to be doing when I'm feeding my child is making eye contact when I can be swiping right. Time is of the essence. Or prams that come with a built-in iPad holder. There we go. Yeah. Because here's the thing with this. We'll stick the child on a YouTube, device, load up YouTube. YouTube has this autoplay option, doesn't it? So as soon as you finish watching a video on YouTube, it will automatically play another video based on its algorithm of keywords and so on. Someone's done some research into this and found on average, how many videos will it be before that child is watching something inappropriate, whether it's violent or sexual? It's about 10. Now, the average video is around 3 to 4 minutes, so we're talking half an hour, 40 minutes unsupervised, and the likelihood is the child's watching something inappropriate. But hey-ho, at least she's getting a 5 a day. Eh? It's not all bad. So whenever I see these articles that like to blame the technology, do you know the ones? The iPad is a far bigger threat to our children than anyone realises. No, it's not. No, it's not. These devices aren't a threat. You know, children aren't coming out of the womb now with an iPad I don't know how I went that gesture. They're not coming out of the womb now with an iPad in their hands, are they? Charging it on the umbilical cord. Just a second, folks. Just got to tweet this to the world. That's not the issue. The issue is parents who buy it at such a young age and sort of use it as this sort of digital pacifier, and don't bother educating them about using it safely and responsibly. So my sort of mantra with young people is that I want them to be masters of technology and not slaves to it. Now, what you've seen through those examples are children being slaves to the technology through no fault of their own, because that's the other thing we like to do. We like to blame them. And every older generation's done this. So like my parents' generation hammers my generation now. Bloody millennials, you big bunch of snowflakes. No, we're not, My grandparents' generation did it about my parents. We're doing it about kids now. If you ever meet someone for the first time, they go, what do you do? I'm a teacher. And they go, oh, tough gig that. And you're hoping they're going to go down the line of, when you've got this government, don't really care about the way they underfund it, and the pressures and the workload, and they don't. They go, oh, do you know what it is nowadays? Kids, they just don't know they're born. And I have to bite my tongue instead of his. Why do we do that? Why do we blame them like it's their fault? This isn't their fault. This is our choices. This is the way we're choosing to educate them and the way that we're choosing to parent them. I feel sorry for kids nowadays. I'll tell you this, now I'd absolutely hate to be a kid nowadays. Can you remember at any point when you were at primary school feeling an ounce of stress or pressure? Can you remember at any point when you were at primary school feeling any sort of stress? I'll tell you when I felt pressure at primary school. Year 6 local area rounders tournament, right? Semi-final, we got through. I was the last person in, and we needed one more rounder to beat English martyrs, right? But we called them English farters because that's how cool we were back in the day. And that was pressure, whereas now we've got more Year 6 kids being diagnosed with stress-related conditions because of a series of tests they've got to sit at the end of the year that ultimately don't mean anything to them. The fact they're giving all this technology at such a young age with this money-rich, time-poor approach to it, I'm not going to educate children about how to use it. I'll wait until they're struggling mentally and physically, then I'll blame everyone else, Just the world they're growing up into. We had kids at that concert in Manchester a couple of years back. I mean, they were fine, but they went through that experience. Can you imagine? So I don't think it's fair. We say that. What we've got to be doing is we've got to be educating. We've got to be educating. That's what I think the answer to this is, education. Now, in England, we are well behind with our curriculum. Majority of the curriculum we teach, and I'm speaking primary, because I'm a primary teacher. Secondary school teachers, I'm not judging your curriculum because I don't know it. I just know what I know. The primary school curriculum, absolute garbage, majority of it. Some of it's all right, but so much of it's just not fit for purpose. Wales and Scotland, hey, they're further ahead than us now. They've both designed curriculums where they've gone, this is going to play a very pivotal part in their lives. So what we need to do is we need to educate them about it. So they've created digital literacy frameworks in their new curriculums that are given just as much weight and value as your English, maths, and so on. We're still well behind. I mean, there is an epidemic in this country as far as mental health issues linked to things like social media. We don't even speak to children about it. Majority of classrooms up and down the country, we don't even speak to children about it because our system forces us to worry about things that aren't even that important, like whether the children know the difference between the active and passive voice. I bet for some of you here, you've never had to consider the difference between the active and passive voice. I couldn't give a crap whether I know the difference between the active and passive voice. I don't even know if that sentence I've just said is in the active and passive voice. Active? We'll go active, right? But my children having a healthy and responsible relationship with this technology is so much more important. The fact that we've got children at primary school age in this country contemplating taking their own lives at the minute, and there's teachers flapping about whether they can underline a fronted adverbial. So this is key. What we've got to be making changes to ensure this is being taught and delivered effectively. And one of the biggest teaching points for me is just getting children to find the right balance with it. There's a time and a place for it all. We can do some incredible things with this technology, but then there's also a time we've got to put it down, leave it alone, and just go outside and jump in a puddle. So the key for me all the time is balance. Getting children to strike the right balance, but also teachers find the right balance. I never want any teacher to go back to school after today's training and being like, right, let's bin everything. Bin the displays, don't need them. Bin the books, bin the pens. The technology is always just going to be one of many useful tools in the classroom. What I'm always hoping off the back of my training is that you get a better understanding of how you can utilize that tool to enhance and transform your curriculum. It's not about replacing everything. And that's what a lot of teachers do. They look at technology to substitute what you're already doing. Like when I get tweets of teachers asking questions like, Mr. P, can you recommend an app that can help children measure length? Yeah, a ruler. What are you asking me that for? Don't get me wrong, it can replace certain things if it helps us get the job done quicker and more efficiently. But the question we should be asking more than anything else is, where can this technology take us beyond what we're already doing? And that's the issue. Too many of us, you always see these news articles about technology and education, always in a negative light. And we always blame the technology. But I'll tell you the reason why most schools fail to implement technology, effectively, is just a complete and utter lack of vision. Because what we don't do in most schools is we don't focus on the most important resource in the classroom, which is teachers, right? So what happens is this technology, we don't look at how this technology can help teachers. What I always say now to schools, if you're going to implement a tool that you've seen today, some sort of cloud-based approach or devices, whatever it might be, don't even worry about the kids to begin with. Take the first year, because it's not an overnight thing, take the first year to get every staff member an iPad, for example, and just focus for the first year on teachers using that device to make their life easier. How can this tool help us plan more effectively? How can it help us give more effective feedback? How can it help us evidence work more efficiently? And once teachers start to see that this technology is helping them do their job better, they're going to be so much more open to using it with the pupils. But here's what happens, right, in most schools. You're just a normal teacher doing a normal thing. Someone wheels a load of iPads in, Chromebooks, whatever they are. Right, you need to use these now. What? You need to use these now on top of everything. Well, I've not got time for that. Listen, mate, I've got planning that gets checked still every week, even though 5 years ago Ofsted said they're not checking planning. You still take it in, scrutinise it to death, thinking I look at it once I've done it, right? I've got to then do that teaching lark. You've got me then following a marking policy, which is a load of, I've got book scrutinies, learning walks, and observations coming out my arse. You're now expecting me to use these iPads as well. I've not got time for that. That's why it fails. And the other thing is it's all about time. I think the problem that technology, well, when it comes to technology, what we've done over the past few years is we expect it to be an overnight thing because that's what technology has done. It's made our lives so convenient, hasn't it? I mean, we live in a world now where I could order a pizza and it'd be at this place before I finish this talk. I won't, but I could. I could order something from Amazon now and it'd be my house in Manchester before I get there tonight. This is this world. So we've become the most impatient generation ever. We are the most impatient generation ever. I'll gladly hold my hands up. I'm part of that. If I ever have to stay at a hotel and the Wi-Fi is slow, I lose it, honestly. I'm on the street corner going, Wi-Fi, mate. Have you got any of that Wi-Fi? Just need a hit of Wi-Fi, It's mad. And so this is what we do with education. This sort of, we want it instant. It's got to be overnight. And it infiltrates into education. It does my head in, because head teachers now are like football managers. One bad set of results, and they're out the door. Get Sam Allardyce in to sort of steady the ship. It's ridiculous. So what we've got to understand is, when we're implementing this technology, it's not about the technology. It's about us. It's about us changing our mindset of how we work and how we're now going to work to make our lives easier. And that's going to be a transition period. And it might be for some teachers, it takes them a little bit longer, but that's fine because we're all on the right track. Now, the other thing I want to talk about as well is the way in which schools use technology, right? Because I think one of the biggest issues is too many teachers look at technology as a consumer device, right? And they do that because that's the only way they ever use the technology. So if you think about what you do on your phones outside of school, majority of you here will be consumers, And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. All your children, by the way, tend to only ever be consumers. So what I mean by being a consumer is you tend to use the technology to do these sort of things. Watch videos, binge on a Netflix series. How annoying is it now if you watch something on the telly and you've got to wait a week for the next episode? I'm not waiting. I binge, Your children do this weird one now where they watch videos of other people playing video games. What's that about? Reading ebooks, listening to music, browsing the web. Now listen, this is not me saying we shouldn't use a technology like this. Of course we should. There are some great ways, great apps, great tools we can use. A lot of schools will have things like Times Tables Rockstars. Yeah? Absolutely fantastic tool to get children practicing their quick recall of maths facts. Fantastic. Having access to the web is amazing. Here's my issue though. My issue with this is there are too many schools where that is the only way in which they use the technology. So when I go into schools and I say, talk me through what you've been doing. Oh, well, we do a little bit of research and we play a couple of maths games and that's it. That is not going to transform teaching and learning. At best, it will slightly enhance it. So what I want teachers to start focusing on is, yes, there's a place for that. It's a great way of acquiring knowledge, because it's all about knowledge. What's the most patronizing phrase to a teacher in 2019? Knowledge-rich curriculum. Patronizing that, isn't it? Like we've never taught a curriculum before that was knowledge-rich, But here's the problem with a lot of the schools who are going this knowledge-rich. They're not giving children the opportunities to apply that knowledge creatively. And if we don't do that, what's the point? We're going to end up with a generation of kids who won't be able to apply themselves in the real world, but I'll tell you what, they'll be cracking at a pub quiz. Balance. So that use of the technology as a consumer, very, very engaging. Really engaging, right? And engagement, again, is a bit of a dirty word at the minute, isn't it? But this use of the technology, it's not engaging, it's empowering. We're not just letting children browse the web, we teach them how to publish to the web. And they can do that through a whole range. When was the last time your children in your class published something to the web? I mean, for me, they should be doing that as often as they write something in a book. How likely are they to write anything in an exercise book once they leave school compared to how often they're going to be publishing content online each and every day? Surely we should be teaching children how to do that responsibly and safely. Not just reading ebooks, writing their own multimedia ebooks about absolutely anything. Not just playing games, designing games. You get the idea. And it's in this use of the technology that we really, really start to see a difference in the quality of work children produce. Because this makes everything purposeful. I guarantee you've got kids in your class. When I grow up, Mr. P, I want to be a YouTuber. And you go, pipe down, YouTube. Talking about YouTube. Can't make any money out of YouTube. You can. YouTube aside, though, I think vlogging now is one of the most powerful and creative ways in which children can demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. I think vlogging's fantastic. If it takes off and the children end up being multimillionaires through their YouTube channel by the age of 21, happy days. Just remember who taught you to do it. Give me a cut. Come on. Don't be shy. Now, I had this year 6 child say to me a while back, Miss P, I found your YouTube channel online last night. I said, all right. Yeah, and I've seen you've got like 70 subscribers. So I was like, all right. Is that good? He went, no, it's not great. But I've only got 3. Can you tell me how I can get more subscribers? So I did the whole safety talk with him, how he shouldn't be on YouTube because he's not old enough. But then I said, right, well, talk me through how you make your videos. He says, what I do is I get the camera, press record, just start talking. Well, that is the biggest mistake you make. Because all these big YouTube stars, all these big vloggers won't do that. The first thing that they'll do is they'll sit down, they'll write a script. They'll plan out what they're then going to perform. This is why writing is so incredibly important in primary school, because it's the starting point to absolutely everything. Not just YouTube videos, Xbox games, PlayStation games, iPad games, TV shows, cartoons, animations. Biggest grossing TV series of all time. Game of Thrones. What was Game of Thrones based on? What happened to the TV show Game of Thrones once it outlasted the books? It went rubbish, didn't it? Biggest film franchise of all time. Harry Potter's up there, not the biggest. Marvel. But again, what were they initially? Comics. So children, this is why writing is so incredibly important, because it's the starting point to absolutely everything. But children never make that connection because in most of the time, never get the chance to do it. Their only experience of writing at primary school now is to do it in an exercise book so you can mark it. Whereas we've all got these devices that will allow children to transform their writing into a much more engaging form of media. So we should let them do that. Now, I came to sort of prove this, but I came across this document on Twitter recently. Writing for a Purpose, it was called. Right? I think it was by Michael Tidd. Initially, it caught my attention because I'm all about purpose. And what he's done is he's broken it down into 4 strands. Writing to entertain, inform, persuade, discuss. Love that. Then you've got your genres. Love that. And then he went, there you go. That's writing for a purpose. No, it's not. Nothing purposeful about that, is there? You can't expect children to write a speech and expect that speech to be purposeful if they don't get the opportunity to perform that speech. That's not purposeful. That's a complete and utter waste of time. So looking at this technology that we've got at our fingertips now and how we can make this writing purposeful, it's all about going one step further. Once we've got the writing done, this is the end game. Can we allow children to create these sort of outcomes? If they're going to write a speech, let them perform it. Listen, we've all been there as a teacher. Children, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to write some instructions on how to make a cup of tea. Dull as dishwater, that. You can make that instantly more purposeful. Children, over the next few weeks, we're going to make some YouTube tutorial videos on how to make a cup of tea. You're doing the same thing you've been doing for years. Reading really good examples, deconstructing that text, what you need to include in your writing. You then write your set of instructions, but then you give the children the opportunity through the technology to bring that writing to life. And in that process, not only is that writing going to be the best it can possibly be, because the children know it's not just going to stay life on a piece of paper. The process of creating the content gives you the opportunity to embed all the IT, digital literacy stuff, and then you're also giving that oral speaking a real purpose as well. And then the last step is to share it. Because I'm still amazed in this day and age that most classrooms, the teacher will go, right, children, today's the day. 3 weeks into persuasion, right? Today is our big write day. You are now going to do the best piece of writing you've ever done in your life. And you know I mean business, because I've lit a candle and I put Mozart on. I'm not messing about, yeah? And she'll like, why does it need to be the best? I'll tell you why. Because I'm taking it home tonight to mark, highlight it for you to completely ignore. Then it's going to go on the shelf. We're never going to speak of it again. In fact, no, I need to update that display board. So some of you lucky devils can have your writing on a washing line, eh? But because of my OCD, only the ones with neat cursive join handwriting. So, Laura, sorry, no chance. What incentive is there for children to do their best possible piece of writing if the only person they're writing for is you? You're banking everything on the fact that children like you. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, sorry. And most older children, they realize the only reason you're taking the time to mark and read their work is because that's your job. And that's what you're paid to do. And if you weren't paid to do it, you wouldn't do it, would you? You wouldn't. Don't lie to me. Oh, I would. This is my vocation. Yeah, no. This is where I love using the internet. Like we're talking about, using these cloud services, using social media to share, publish, and celebrate children's work, instantly giving them an online global audience for their writing. Why does anybody write? You write for it to be read. You update your Facebook status for the people to read. Why are we not utilizing this technology to give children that audience, to give them that purpose, to make it mean something? And in the same breath, we are then modeling positive use of the internet. Yeah? Because that's the thing. We get told all the time, if you want children to be good readers, you need to be a good reader. You need to model good reading. If you want children to be good writers, you need to model good writing. If we want children to be responsible and positive digital citizens, we need to model that. So that's why I love embracing social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, have a school page. But what if parents use it to slag us off? Block them. Whether you've got a Facebook page or not, if parents are going to slag you off, they'll slag you off. At least if you've got a school Facebook page, you're now in control of that, the vision of your school on that platform. And actually, if you use it positively, some incredible things can happen, right? So I'm just going to skip ahead to show you. I'm going to show you this little project that I did with my class last year. About this time last year with my year fours. Do you remember this advert? Yeah, so this was a Greenpeace advert, was doing the rounds, was on the telly, roughly around this time of year. And then Iceland wanted to use it for their Christmas advert, okay? But they couldn't because Greenpeace is a political party and you can't be endorsing political. Anyway, best piece of PR going that because it got so much more exposure because it was banned from TV. And basically, it sort of talks about everything that's happening over in
There's orangutan.
the rainforest and how orangutans are being killed for palm oil and really, really sort of inspiring advert. I mean, if you go on my blog, there is a blog post that deconstructs the text, so if you want to use it for a comprehension lesson. But sort of the visuals in this advert are really sort of powerful as well. Like that there, what does that look like? Looks sort of like monsters' claws. So that really inspired my class to write about this issue. And the first task we did was we looked at writing almost like a recount as an orangutan seeing our homes being destroyed. But as I've just explained there, if we've got this technology that will allow the children to bring that writing to life, we'll do it. So using green screen, we were able to perform our writing.
They came at night. An immense flash of light lit up my home. That's when I saw it. I was struck dead with fear.
A deafening roar from the metallic monster echoed through my precious home.
So they sort of taught this story through of an orangutan seeing their homes being destroyed. They then go on to say that we lose around 25 orangutans every day due to deforestation. And like I just said there, we share that. We get it out there for the world to see. On our school Facebook page, on our school Twitter account, I will tweet as many people as I can. This one got replies from Greenpeace and WWF. Even Michaela Strachan shared it on Twitter as well, which I got really giddy about. Kids didn't have a clue who she was. It's like children Michaela Strachan, you know. In fact, Greenpeace not only then sent us a copy of the story as a book and loads of little goodies, this other company sent us these pencils. Once they finish using them, they can plant the end part and it will grow into a tree. It impressed Greenpeace that much that just before Christmas, Greenpeace came into our school, or a film crew on behalf of Greenpeace, came in to film our children to feature in the next advert around this issue. So from sharing our work online, my children then became the stars of the next Greenpeace advert, which was amazing. So then we did a little bit more work on the reasons behind why this is happening, and palm oil, and what was palm oil used in, and these companies who all have links to dirty palm oil. And each one of these companies have said that by 2020, they will be free of links to dirty palm oil. So my class wanted to check in to make sure they're on track. So they wrote to each of these companies, not aggressively, just, you know, courtesy, just seeing if you're on track, you know. Now, what I tend to do with the technology is I don't mark. I'm going to talk a bit on the other side on the conference about, you know, teachers love wasting time with certain things. Well, not that we love it, but we tend to waste time. A lot of things. Like, I don't mark anymore. I give feedback. So with the devices, and again, you can do this with so many different tools. It doesn't matter which one you go for. But the children will take a picture of their writing. I record some feedback orally. They play that back, make the adjustments to get their final draft. What they then do with that final draft, they perform it using an app called Adobe Spark Video.
To whom it may concern,
Our names are Keen and Serge.
And we are Year 4 pupils from David Hume Primary School.
Recently we watched a TV advert.
Called There's a Orangutan in My Bedroom.
If you The reason for writing this letter
Was to provide the polite reminder of the promise you made.
we would really appreciate a reply with your stance on this issue.
We, like many other people, like your brand and products.
However, it would be a shame if the promise you have made isn't fulfilled. I don't think you can like a company which is contributing
To the extinction of this beautiful, majestic and defenceless creature.
So what do I then do with all their letters and all their videos? We email them, we tweet them to these companies, and we got replies from pretty much every single one of them. So again, for my pupils, my little 9-year-olds, to learn that if they've got a passion about something, if there's an issue that they want their voices heard, the technology gives them that opportunity to share it with the world. And so we wanted to do a little bit more work about orangutans. And so what we did was we did a little bit of research to find as much facts and information about different orangutans. This is using a little tool called Mentimeter. Again, some tutorials on my website for that. And what we can do once we've collated all of this research is we can save it as a PDF, and using tools like you've probably seen today, instantly share it with every child so they can have access to that. And then we use an app called Book Creator. And Book Creator allows you to create your own ebooks. And so in pairs, the children had a device and they had to design a page where they were answering a question about orangutans. So where do they live, what do they eat, etc. What we're able to do through the use of cloud-based storage is connect all those pages together to then create our own class ebook. And once we've put together this class ebook, what we're then able to do is publish it on the iBook store as an actual real ebook. So that book has an ISBN number. My Year 4 pupils are published authors, and you can download that for 50p with all the proceeds going to Greenpeace and WWF. Best thing about it, on the weekend we released it, it ended up being the #1 best-selling ebook in the professional and technical category, even outselling Your Guide to Ridiculously Good Sex, which I hear is a riveting read. In fact, at one point that weekend, my class's ebook was the 8th best-selling ebook on the whole of the UK iBook store. So for one afternoon, my class weren't just authors, published authors. They were published authors of the 8th best-selling ebook on the iBook store. They have since raised, well, it's about 350 quid now. But when we got to 250 quid, we got the checkout. We did a bit of a photo shoot there because they then used all that money to go and adopt a load of orangutans. Yeah. But kids nowadays don't know they're born. Eh? So I hope in that short little session there you have been inspired just to see the potential of where we can get to. And it's, like I say, it's more about us now starting that journey, changing our mindset to see where we can do. The reason I wanted to share that was just to give you an idea, because I come across so many teachers, this technology is distracting, this technology is hindering teaching and learning. No, we're just not using it right. If we use it creatively, if we use it effectively, it can transform teaching and learning. For all the tutorials with the Orangutan project are all on my website there. Just say a massive thank you to LGFL for having me again. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon and a fantastic weekend, and keep doing the amazing job that you're doing. Thank you very, very much.